I am pausing and thank you everyone for joining, but I'm going to pause for just a brief moment. Ready? Thank you so much for joining. Let me go ahead and let things buffer for a quick second. 3,
Is our
2,
host frozen?
She's frozen.
and
I'm
1.
sorry, y'all.
Of course.
Ah, here we go.
Well, that's a way to humble me down real quick. That was a beautiful entrance. I fumbled all the way up in that bad boy. I don't even know if there's a touchdown at the end of this. I don't know what we doing. Did I even get to the goal post? I might be on the wrong team at this point. But I'm just here to say thank you so much for coming and joining. The goal of this is to start a conversation. Many times everyone sees me and I'm always talking about relocating to Rwanda. Well, there's actually been a lot of things that's happened that has helped me understand the process of just relocating or leaving America and what that looks like. So one of the things that we're trying to do, or at least I'm trying to do, is really open the conversation regarding, are people there? Yes. Open up the conversation regarding what does it take to leave? Because I do believe that we don't want to leave, smell, feel, dance, and enjoy freedom. And because we did not plan accordingly, find ourselves someplace we really don't want to be and having to go back. And that's why I'll talk about sustainable freedom. So these are the things that I really thought we need to discuss and talk about when it's time to move overseas or just really looking at leaving. So I do have a presentation. And if you have any questions whatsoever, pop them in the chat. This is a discussion. This is a chance for us to figure things out. Let me see if I can move this to the side so I can make sure that this is going correctly. I feel like I'm really telling my computer to do a lot today. My computer is like, you have worked me all day, baby. So this is things to think about when moving overseas. If you don't know me, I am your girl, J Essence Journey. And we're talking about this. And this is very rare for me to come out here and just do like this free chat seminar. But I'll be honest with you, passion drives me. And I just felt like it was needed to have this conversation, at least post it out, put it in YouTube, so people can start talking about the things that do matter. And we get so excited about, well, what's the weather like? Or, what's this about? And it's more so like, how can we sustain a life so we can be able to go to all the different places? And for those who know Jay-Z, make the weather change instead of us change the weather. We get to pick where we want to go when we want to go. So in talking about this, why are we here? Why are you here? Honestly, you know your own answer. I like to think that you're here because you have a what if in your heart. And it's very simple. Once you have a what if regarding anything, you start to nudge, you get an idea in your head, you start having that beautiful, beautiful thing, which I call curiosity. And curiosity did not kill the cat. Curiosity freed that sucker when he realized he was a lion. So, what happens is when you have that idea, you start digging and planning and you start kind of figuring out. So we're all at different stages of the journey. So hopefully you're here just because you're intrigued. And I want to make sure that you have the idea that you have, that whatever dream you have, you can definitely dream in color. So with this presentation, what we're going to do is just find a way to make your what if to what is. And that is our biggest goal, is to figure out how to make your what if to what is. So for those who don't know, I am J Essence. And most times so people have started to know me, I think within the last year and a half, because of my work on YouTube and online. Actually, I've been an expat for 3 years. And that's when I'm not going to claim my teaching because I just realized there's a spelling error. So we're not going to discuss that at all. But I started my expat journey about 3 years ago, actually moving to Dubai. And actually in 2008, I actually moved to Liberia and stayed there for about half a year as well. So I've utilized all these different experiences because unlike most people, I stumbled so hard and fell into some harsh realities coming and doing my journey just because I was so naive and happy just to go and do things. And so when it comes to community, I actually created an organization called Black Educators in Dubai. I don't even talk about that anymore, but what that did was help bring other Black educators to Dubai, and we created that sense of family and home and being able to pass out information. So for some people who've ever asked, there's a YouTube channel called A Million Minds where I had done that work prior to coming here. But I give you that because I do feel like that's a catalyst to me moving towards my cousin connection, which is the organization that we have here in Rwanda to help expats and people who are looking to move to Rwanda settle and get in. And I'm so excited to celebrate. I believe we've actually have over 25 confirmed visas through our organization. We are in the process of relocating 2 cousins into new houses and homes because we work with a realtor now. We also have someone who purchased land, actually 2 cousins that have purchased land and looking to build. So my cousin connection is actually branching out and really just using the idea of network and family to help settle people here in Rwanda. And we've only been around for about 6 to 7 months, and we're doing some amazing things. We created e-courses, all kinds of things. I am on the YouTube channel of J Essence Journey, and my biggest thing is I just love sharing knowledge and documenting discoveries. So that part really drives me. I am throwing out my PayPal out there for anybody who don't mind donating or doing anything afterwards is heyjessence@gmail.com. And I had to pause because I'd make sure there's no spelling errors there. But for anybody who feels so led, do it, no problem. That's my PayPal. And we move. And speaking of moving, before we do anything, take this time now to type in the chat, what is your goal in this next hour of listening? What is your want? What is your expectation? What is your need? And so I'm going to go ahead and be quiet, and teachers call that wait time, while you type in the chat and kind of say, what is it that you're looking to seek? What are you trying to find? What are you curious about? What is nudging you? And when I say nudging, I like to think of, for those who have, like I have a younger brother, there's a difference between like a nudge and like a poke from that younger sibling who was just annoying, like why, but why, but why? And so I like to think that if you're really called to leave a situation, that nudging keeps coming back. It's not something that settles down. It's something that kind of continues in your heart and spirit, and you want to be able to answer a question. And it just keeps gnawing at you. It just keeps going. So I have one person in the chat already to find out more about moving to Rwanda and just being abroad in general. I'm waiting for more because I know that we have information there. It's better for you to type in the chat, I just don't know yet, versus just being quiet. It's a difference when you say, hey, I just don't know yet, versus just not saying anything. So I'm looking for at least 2 more comments, 2 more comments. And I know you're going to give them to me. I know, I feel it in my heart, soul, and spirit. Come on, you're not going to make me beg. You're not going to make me beg now. I got one. I want to be certain that moving my family of 6 to Africa is the right thing for us. Anita, that is wonderful. And that's very strong. And I love that. And that helps give us purpose in your conversations and some of the things that I'm going to say as well. Okay, I got one more. One more. I still got 3 people on the line. So I would like to let you know now that when I was in education, I was that relentless teacher that would just sit there and stare. Just stare until you did right. Laws, rules, regulations of Rwanda. I'm glad that you're here. Now, we can talk about that a little bit later. We go specific. Right now, I want to talk about the general needs of just moving. So we have our goals, we have our outline, and I want to say congratulations. Let's play our theme song and something that drew us here. What song is that? Let's listen.
Well, we can't hear it, but I'm sure that's.
Oh, you
moving on
can't?
up.
Oh my gosh, that is horrible.
Yeah, we cannot hear.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh,
ready.
let me stop because I'm jamming. Oh my goodness, that is horrible. I am jamming. You can't tell me nothing. Let me do this again. All right, let's go. Let me go see if I can rewind it.
We got
All
it
right.
now.
Okay.
And now singing one of the great
That is
TV
hilarious.
theme songs
There we go.
ever,
We're gonna have fun.
Grammy and Oscar winner Jennifer Hudson.
Just to get up that hill. Now we're up in the big league. Getting my target back. As long as we live, it's you and me, baby. And ain't nothing wrong with that. We're ever moving on.
I want to pause it for a second because while we kind of talk about this in fun and different things like that, I'm going to go back so I can look at you guys for a second. There's a lot of significance in just the words itself. So we know the Jeffersons, and that was one of the first times we really got to see somebody move from one situation up to another. And even though they didn't know the rules or regulations, they showed it find their own way and their own self, right? And so when we think about that, it's time for us to get our piece of the pie. And that's what you're looking to do. And you're going to a deluxe apartment in the sky. You're going to move on up. You know, I don't know about fish not frying in the kitchen. I never knew where else it fried. But what I love about that is when I listen to that now, it's just a different type of joy I have because it takes a lot to just shift and move. It takes a lot. And how do you turn around and get there? And number one, they were able to do it because they prepared and they thought differently than the circumstances around them. And that's a big thing. If you think about the Jeffersons, everybody else was content in being where they wanted to, or only talked about wishing they were someplace else. That's the significance about Raising in the Sun, that somebody held on to a dream, and no matter the circumstances, we continue to ply and fight for that dream. And so we don't know where it's going to take us. We don't know what the next journey is, but there's something significant in moving. And yes, there's celebration in that. So I'll pause if anybody else wants to say anything, but I do think that the Jeffersons moving on up is very significant to where everybody is in their place right in their space and journey right now. Okay, I'll keep on talking. So if you don't know how to have a good time, baby, you're not gonna be able to be here with me because I love having a great time. And we're gonna go ahead and talk, but it's time for us to kind of start digging into what we're really discussing and trying to do. So I'm going to go to the next slide. And I call this basically the FHBBSG plan. I know that's a lot of, but you know, we like making a name out of something, but the FHBBSG plan. In fact, type it in the chat, FHBBSG. Make them fingers move, baby, make them fingers move. There we go. I'm looking for it in chat. Put it in chat. FHBBSG. And so I don't know what it sounds like to you. It's not a church, you know, but it is breaking down what does it take to move into like these 6 steps. And I put the steps into faith, hunt, break down, just to build up, settle, and go. So I'm trying to move the video around. So we have our 6 steps, which is your faith, your hunt, your breakdown, your build up, your settle, and go. And this is when I'll be in the classroom and I'll say, well, turn to your partner and tell them what you think you mean, or neighbor, can you say, you know, but we're going to work this virtual thing out. But we're going to go ahead and break down piece by piece what that means. So if you're taking notes, go ahead and write this down because I'm going to break down some things with this. But when we go into the very first piece of what we're talking about, we have to talk about faith. Before any move, before anything you do, you have to be able to have faith. So the definition of faith here is the strong belief in the doctrines of a religion based upon spiritual conviction rather than proof. What I think we have taken is the faith actually, because faith is just a strong belief in something based upon your personal conviction rather than proof. Period. If that's not what it is, you can't tell me that people think the Cowboys really gonna win every year, but they have faith. Am I wrong? You can't tell me that some people I have seen go to the gym the first time on January 1st really think they about to hit the whole workout. But that's faith. That's a strong belief in a doctrine of something I personally believe. And then also you have faith without works is dead. So that faith is actually driving you to something. So the key piece that we look at now is that your faith is simply telling you have the right to believe that what you dream is possible. So I want to pause on that one for a second, only because if you don't have faith, you wouldn't even be here right now. Faith doesn't mean you don't have the right to question. Faith doesn't mean that you don't have the right to pain. Faith doesn't mean that you have a right to judgment. What faith simply means is, despite all of those things, there's a thought somewhere that what you believe is in fact possible. If you don't have faith, you're going to give up on this journey, this hunt, this research, because it's very hard. And trust me, if anybody's talked to anybody around them, they don't understand it. They don't believe it, or even better, they say, oh, it's a good idea, but there's no action behind it. That's why it's based upon your own spiritual conviction rather than proof. Because sometimes you're going to be the only one feeding your soul in efforts to make this thing move forward. So what is the purpose of faith? Faith, when you hold on to it, when you continue to fuel it, when you keep doing what it needs to do, it will allow you to believe it is possible. It will give you the goal and motivation to nurture yourself and plan, and it will give you the guts to pursue. Now, you can tell me if I'm wrong. You can tell me right. And I'm going to tell you right now how I know that this is true, because I'm going to date myself just a little bit here and ask you, do you remember that beautiful song from Troop, I Can't Wait to Get to School Each Day, just so you can walk my way? And bells start to scream and ladies start to sing, because they had the possibility of this little girl going to talk to them, right? They even had a plan. I'm going to go to school each and every day just to pursue their dream. Now, if that's a little too old, let me go to Tevin Campbell's Can I Talk for a Minute? Because I want to know your name. Because at the end of all things, there's something that gets sparked inside of you that says, this fella here, I'm good for his life. You know what I'm saying? That this fella needs to know me. For the fellas, there's a woman be like, she thought she knew something, but she don't know me yet. So it's really funny how we could have this confidence when it comes to these quick, tangible things. But can we have that same confidence when it comes to something that's unseen and unknown? And that's why a lot of us go into vision or manifestation work, because we have to hold on to something we haven't seen before. So we create that in our mind and hold on to that image. It works the same way. We just get stuck inside of the day-to-day and the work and the responsibilities that we forget the value of faith. So I'm going to tell you right now, in case we're moving forward on this journey, and some of y'all might laugh at me for playing my little Toto song, at the very beginning, but it seems like music brings us back to that nostalgia place of maybe it can, maybe it's possible, but it's an ease. And one thing that music does is take us back to our youth. And when we were young, we were dumb enough to believe anything and everything was possible, right? So that's why I'm giving you this information, because when you hold on to saying, I want to move to Africa, or I want to move abroad, or I want to leave what I already know, too many people are going to sit there and say, that's not possible. But just like you were a kid who climbed up a tree and jumped 2 flights down, you didn't know at that point in time what was possible and what's not possible. So you do have to hold on to some dreams with a childlike faith, because you don't know any better. And so that's why I say the very first piece of what you didn't realize what you needed to do in order to move abroad is have faith. Have faith that there was something that was wrong in your spirit for a reason, and you know that you have the right to at least chase it and find out. If you do not have faith, anything and everything can take you away from your what if, and you have the right to follow your what if. You have the right to know if it works for you or if it doesn't. And that's the key piece of everything. So pause real quick. Are there any questions? Because if not, we're going to go to our next step in this journey. Okay, I'm going to check the chat real quick. I'm on the ride, Ashe, FH double B, SG. I messed that all the way up there. So possible, plan, pursue. It is possible. You need to plan, then let's go pursue. It's very simple. And when we talk about all the things that happen, those are the three things that will get you to the next stop. At the very bottom, I put faith is the torch that illuminates the vision. Faith is the finding of the light so you can see what it needs to be. Faith keeps the light burning. So we move up to the next one. And the next thing that we must do is hunt. Now, I use the word hunt purposely. What you see here is a lion on the prowl. And let me see. I want to see if I went to the next slide or not. Did I? Yep, I'm going to go. The reason why I wanted to talk about the word hunt in this way and not search, not look, is that because when you're hunting for something, there is a hunger there. And I'll put it very simple. If you took a lion and you starved a lion, and then all of a sudden you just threw a chicken in front of it, he's going to eat the chicken because it's easy for him because he's starving. When you're starving, you tend to grab whatever around you in order to nourish your body. But when you hunt, you are looking for something intentional for purpose. And if you think about the safaris, there are like maybe 50 zebras around, but the lion has seen the exact one they want. They have seen somebody, they watched them, they took care of it, they know which way they're going to probably run and go to, and then they pounce. And so when it's time for you to look for going abroad, you need to hunt for what you want, not just search, not just look. It starts that way. But when it comes down to digging and finding what you really need, you have to have an intention that is purposeful in order to go forward. So what I would like to say in this case, and this is very important, is you want to do your research and have at least 3 countries. And then once you have your 3 countries, you start inspecting them deeper. That is when the hunt starts. That's when you start seeing which way this goes. Maybe this visa, we'll talk about that, or this climate, or those different things. You start hunting. The reason why I say pick 3 is because when you have a choice, you feel empowered. When you have a choice or an elimination, you actually start questioning and putting things and pinning things against each other, which means that your research process is actually deeper and more thorough. It means that you go out and you seek additional information. You talk to other people. You find people who have those stories. If you just lock in on one, you really haven't done the comparison. What you're doing is you're just holding onto a hope. So that's one reason why I say you should definitely research and have 3 countries and then inspect deeper, because that will start leading you to questions and information you didn't know that existed before. It gets you really, really there. And then I was going to say, I'm going to give you a quick example off the top of my head. In the chat, which jelly is the best to you? Just real quick, which jelly is the best to you? In the chat, go ahead and tell me which jelly is your preferred jelly. Which jelly is the best to you? We got strawberry, we got grape, we got red. Go ahead and go real throwback on that one. Apricot, right? Now, great. Even when I did this one, because I could really go there, I could say, you know, what Luther song is the best song? And then we're going to start fighting, you know. But what happens is even in something like this, when people throw out other ideas, you're sitting in yourself and saying, is strawberry really the best? No, I like strawberry because of this. What's happened now is that you eliminate something by holding on to what you already know and believe. That's the power of research. That's the power of choice. That's the power of having different things in front of you, because you automatically do the research and you know, and you start feeling confident in your decision because you turn around. Colette, we're not going there. Any love? Okay, but we're not. But what happens is that's the power of choice. So that's why I say, you want to be able to have three, not because you're scattered, because you want to make sure that you're starting to talk about what you know, and you can have ownership of what you understand and what you're trying to figure out, especially when it's time for other people to be like, so why did you pick this choice? And so a little known fact is, before I moved to Dubai, I was actually going to move to Kuwait. And the reason why I moved to Kuwait is it was not a popular choice. So I knew I had to research it. It honestly was going to be the best place for me to go for my money. There is, because it's such a dry country, there's not a lot to do and not a lot to kick it. It's the same idea if I chose to move to Rhode Island or if I chose to move to Atlanta. In one of those places, I'm going to save money because it ain't nothing to do. And I was really strong about saving money. The other piece of it about with Kuwait is that they just did a lot of different things that I was really, really about. So for the first 3 months, I knew I was moving to Kuwait because I had done the research and I was really about it. What changed my mind and moved me to Dubai was simply my mother and my father, because all they knew was there was bombs in Kuwait. And I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I cannot try to convince them that that life is not like that anymore. And it was a compromise for me to go to Dubai. But even then, Dubai was like my number 3 choice. And so I was just knowing. And so once I went to Dubai, what happened is I knew what I wanted to do in Kuwait, which was save money. So as soon as I went to Dubai, I lived a lifestyle where I could still save money because I had an intention already set. And that's one of those things that's good, because even if you change your location, your vision doesn't change. And that's one thing that we have to recognize is while we're moving abroad, the country that we move to gets to host us in our new world. If we have ourselves taken care of, if we're doing the work that we have, it doesn't matter where you move to. Technically, like that's a 70%. It's more so important about who's moving and what you're able to do and conquer and take care of. So the biggest reason for, I'm at the chat. The biggest reason for definitely doing this choice is because, let me go back to you want to be able to talk about what you want, what you need, and you.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no. Hell no, no, to the no, no. Hell to the no, no, to the no, 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 no. Hell to the no, no, to the no, 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 no. Hell to the no, 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 no.
You need to know your hell no's. While we can sit there and laugh and talk about it, if you do not know your deal breakers, you will find yourself miserable. You need to make sure you do your research and know what is a deal breaker. So it's not you having a bad attitude. It's not this anything else. You need to know your hell no. For me, snow is a hell no. Hell no to the no, no, no. I'm not doing snow. And a little known fact is, even in the wintertime, I lived in Chicago, I would lose a lot of color. And what will happen is, for people who know me or see me, you do not see a lot of pictures of me in the wintertime because I pretty much fade out into the distance. So I don't want that whole life. I wanted a melanin life. And so you just need to be able to know 100% what are your hell no's. And you have the right to be like, I can't do this. I can't, no. There's some things I can compromise on. This is what I will not compromise on. I can compromise a little bit for me on language, but not 100%. I can't do that. I can't do that. So you have the right. And that's one reason why the choose 3 method really works, because you start finding out, oh, I can't do this. I can go visit this. I don't mind having a vacation, but this is not my life. And you really do have to think about what kind of lifestyle you want. Are you a city person? Are you country? Do you have to have a lot of places to go? Do you want to be someplace that's easy to go, but very easy to travel to other places? Have you done a lot of traveling? That was really big to me. I wanted to be someplace where I could easily travel to other places, but have a home base. So you start learning those things, because I forgot it was someplace that was offered to me. And I was just like, ooh, what I did is I researched flights from there to go other places. And I could just tell you that that's from Oklahoma. Oklahoma was not a flight hub. And so I always had to pay extra just to go to Houston or to Dallas or to Atlanta to fly out. So I knew that when it was time for me to move, I wanted to be someplace where it's easy to fly. And I have a threshold of 6 hours on a flight before I'm just stressed out. So I wanted to be someplace where I could get to places in 6 hours or less and have a variety. These are all things that you start thinking about when you get into that position where you're hunting for your answers. So we have, what's our first one that we started with? What do we do? You could type it in the chat. You can type it in chat. Somebody better say it.
Faith.
Faith. What's next?
Hunt.
Hunt. There we go. We have faith, we hunt. And now we're going to go into the gritty pieces of things. So we're going to say bye-bye to our hell no, man. Our breakdown. These are things that you do need to consider when you're talking about living somewhere. You need to research the visa requirements. You need to know, can you live there? Or you're going to have to get a different type of visa. You need to know the visa process, how much it costs, how long is it good for. Being transparent, we had a lot of expats who had to leave Tanzania after doing these big proclamations that they moved there. They did these things, but they left because they were not underneath the correct visas. So you really need to understand and do the research of the visa requirements. If you're going to talk to anybody regarding consulting or anything, definitely ask them which visa are they on. Things are different if you're married to somebody versus you're there on your own. Things are much different if you're working there or if you're not, if you own land, if you have a bloodline. I do know that for people who have the Liberian bloodline, they have a lot of things that's open to them for people who don't. So you have to know the visa requirements for the country that you pick. Next is there an expat community? Because you need to know if that's important to you or not. I will say one of the things that you don't realize or might realize is, and let me just, I'll break down my own personal story. When I went to Liberia in 2008, it was stated to me, oh no, there's a lot of expats there and stuff. When I actually went there in 2008, there was a lot of military. Military is not expats. Military are people who have a job there to be able to work that way. The other thing was it was military and it was kind of like either Peace Corps or something. So what ended up happening is there really wasn't an expat community that was like me. And there were not people who were coming in under what I was coming into, and I was getting hit with different things. One of the biggest things that happened to me when I was in Liberia is because it was a very strong Army presence and like United Nations presence, they were receiving US money. I was being paid as a local. So I could not actually afford to do a lot of things that I normally like to do. One of my hardest reality checks was I was actually rooming with somebody and we said we were going to split the food. And when we went into the grocery store, they paid $12 for Raisin Bran. I'm not paying $12 for Raisin Bran, but because the expats there was on a high salary or they were able to get free things, that drove up all of the cost of the things that were familiar to us. And so you just want to be able to do that research. In the next slide, I'm going to break down how you can about expats and what that is like. And if there's an expat community, to reach out or listen to see what that is like. All right, we're going into currency information. You need to know the cost of living as it compares to what you're used to now, so you can make sure you start making your financial plans to do that. We're going to break this down in the next one. You want to know about language. Language is a big barrier. And one of the things that happens out here in Africa is, yes, I am in a country that's language is English. Do they understand what I'm saying? No. British English and American English are two different things. So no matter what, you have to be conscientious about what is there and what you're trying to figure out and what you're trying to do. You want to know about mobility, whether that's local transportation or being able to get around. How are you going to find your ways to be able to get around and move? If you want to travel a lot, if not, what does that look like? What's the method? One of the things I would say is like car rentals, and what does that look like for you? What side of the road are you driving on? What is driving like? Those are things. And the last one I'm going to say is location. And I mentioned this earlier when I talked about the fact that I wanted to live someplace that was close to other places to travel. If you're looking for that type of life, you have to pay attention to your location so you're not in a situation. One of the things that also happened is, and I can't remember, but this happened in Dubai. You need to know if there is a political or issues, how would you get out if there was an emergency situation? And that did not happen in Dubai, but that's when President Trump did the thing with the Iran president. We were on red alert for like 48 hours because of retaliation ideas. And so that was immediate. And the one thing, I'll be very honest with you and transparent, and this is how I remember this. When Trump did that, it was 7 days before payday. And I was just like, oh, if I have to flee the country, like, why can't you do this when I get paid? So you have to kind of know these things and have something in the bank. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm going to be honest with you, when we talked about the fact of fleeing the country, like everybody, there was a lot of people who were going to the US. It was me and a couple people, we were planning to go to, it was either Thailand or Singapore. Our fail-safe, like right now, my fail-safe country is Vietnam. I know the pricing, I can get a visa, how far it is. My fail-safe country is not the US. If something really went down, my fail-safe country right now would be Vietnam. And that's where I would go to get recollected and figure things out and then move to the next one. So those are things that you kind of have to think about. That's a worst case scenario, but those are things you just don't realize really do happen, because we had to watch. And just even recently, somebody was evacuating. We were in a meeting. They were having to evacuate because of political differences going on. Okay. So this is where we're going to kind of, I want to take this off. I want to be able to see you guys. Go into resources. So I'm not going to give you all this information and just leave you hanging, right? I have a couple of resources for you that we're going to look at. Visa requirements, you need to research that. Only pay attention to what the country says, know those things. You can get in trouble listening to people on Facebook or anything else because people are always talking from their own perspective. However, I'm going to skip this one and go to Facebook groups. Find out if there's Facebook groups. What I will say is you want to be quiet in Facebook groups and you want to see who's talking and what's being said. There's a lot of people who are in Facebook groups for their own ego or personality. You want to be able to decipher. And that's the other thing too. If there's Facebook groups, you want to do it. One of the things that I recently discovered is the Internations Expat group, and I'm actually starting to see what that's like. But that's very great to be able to be part of, because you want to be able to just kind of get a feel and understanding for that. Definitely check out your YouTube. For those who are women, one of the best expat groups I've ever been in is called Too Fat Expats. And it's a women's group, but they really have great information, especially when they talk about moving kids, places, or different things like that. I really got a lot of information from them. Men, you're not allowed. But that was one of the best resources I ever used. I still have them to this day. And they're from all over the world, but they just really do, especially when it's time for moving or talking about schools or homeschooling or packing up or different things and just different ideas. That's just a very helpful group. Now I'm going to go here and I'm going to mess up. So let me find if I Nubio, whatever this is called, is a really great resource that I found a long time ago that helped me understand cost of living. So when we talk about currency information, and let me see if I can just go, I went to the wrong button, to my Google to see if I can pull this up. Let me know. There we go. cost of living comparison. Here we go. So this is something I really did love. And we're just going to do a couple samples that you can just select a city. And I was in Houston and Texas. And where am I comparing it to? I'm comparing it to Kigali, which is where I'm at now. And I hit compare. And so it tells me the differences in cost. And so basically it tells me right here, I need about $2,043 US in Kigali to maintain the same standard of life that I have currently in Houston. And these figures are actually really good comparison figures, and being here now, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much on point. And I'll tell you, let me see if I can switch it out real quick. It breaks down. Yeah, meal inexpensive, yeah, you can get a meal for $3. Meal for 2 people. Yeah, this is actually like, this is really on point. Look at your McDonald's. Yeah, this is really good. Yep, that's how much a beer is. Got me in trouble. Milk, loaf of bread. Like, this is really, really just a great way for you to kind of figure out. I'll go a little bit cheap on those prices over there. Transportation. That's a lie. Okay. Oh, they doing bus. Don't believe. Nope. Nope. Okay. Taxi. Kind of. But yeah, it's really good at kind of breaking that down. And I was going to try to show you because let me see if I can go back to the first one. If I turn around and do my current city, even Oklahoma, and this is one of the things you want to do, is because everybody's city where they are now is totally different. And so it's not the same comparison. If I turn around and compare these two, well, it gave it the same numbers, but let me see. Yeah, the meals are different in Oklahoma. So you definitely want to do it. I loved this as a resource to do it. I actually use it when I go travel to help me give me an idea of what I could expect when I go traveling. And so I just wanted to kind of shoot that resource out there for you guys so you could look at and see there. So I'm going to get back to our presentation. So this is what I was talking about when it's time to break it down, like to break things down. And what you want to do is keep your reality clear. No place is ever going to be 100% perfect, because honestly, perfection doesn't exist. If it did, really close to it right now. I'm just playing. You can be 100% realistic and be prepared for your challenges, so your challenges don't become deal breakers. And that's very simple. I don't think I even have to give an example of that. But once you kind of get older, there's certain things you'd be like, you know what, let me just go ahead and be evil. That male thing, where y'all wake up and be like, I don't know why y'all make so many sounds when you wake up, but that, like the allergies. Yeah, when I was 21, I'd be like, ooh, ain't gonna happen. When you 44 and single, I'd be like, snort over there. Do you need what you need? Do you need vapor? Okay. So what you want is that your challenges, certain challenges are deal breakers, certain challenges don't have to be deal breakers. Figuring your way around someplace does not have to be a deal breaker. What I do say at all times is that if there's a problem, there's always a solution. The work is trying to find the solution. The work comes in finding the solution. You might not always like the solution, but there's a solution. So what you want to do is, for your favorite country, you need to make sure you write down your pros and your cons. Be realistic. No place is going to be perfect. There is going to be some stuff that you're going to have to deal with, but trust and believe. One of the things that I said, for me, a lot of the deal breakers that happen here in Rwanda are not deal breakers for me, because I went to an HBCU. Like, I've been around stuff that don't make sense before. Anything else, like, I've been stressed out. I know the weight. So, but that's because I had that type of lifestyle before. So after you break it down, baby, it's time to build it up. And this is the consuming part. This is the part that's not fun, but it is necessary. It requires you to dig deep, do extra work, have questions, and be honest. And to build up is the work that comes, like figuring out your stuff. What are you going to do with your items? What is it going to be? Are you selling them? Are you putting them away in storage? What does that look like? You have to figure out your timing. Are you moving next month? Are you moving in a year? You have to do that. And then getting real with your responsibilities. So I could sit here right now and just kind of talk to you about the regular things and all that other stuff. But I wanted to dig deep because I wanted to make sure that we're talking about the things that really matter. So I will tell you right now, out of my regrets and stresses I'm having, you need to check all of your banks and banking accounts. You don't need to like, you have to have serious conversations. When you're talking about banking accounts, there's a lot of credit unions that are not recognized, or as soon as you get off of US internet, you can't get them. You need to talk about VPN and all that other stuff. You need to make sure that you're able to transfer money. And when I say transfer money, a lot of people say, oh yeah, we could transfer. So you need to be able to have those conversations. How are you going to have money? How are you going to have income? One thing that I think I talked about in the last meeting, but I'm not sure, is that you cannot link your PayPal to your local. For me in Rwanda, my PayPal does not link to my bank account here. They refuse to. PayPal is a US company. They're not linking to a non-US company. So I have to be strategic on when people give me money or anything else, how do I get it to myself? And so you have to kind of start doing that research and talk it through that. That's one reason why it's good to get into those expat groups, because everybody's talking about, oh, where's the nice place to go? Where's such and such to go? And like, no, how did you get your money, Playboy? And the biggest issue is, how did you get your money and it not charge you $100 to receive your money? Like, what does that look like? Like one thing that's happening now, and my mom's going to get mad at me telling her business, is that my mom has been hitting up the ATM and those fees are kicking tail. Like it's literally about $10 every time we swipe. And because Rwanda only lets you pull out 200 at a time, we have to do multiple swipes. So that's at least like $40 in banking fees a week if we're pulling out money like that. So those are things that you really want to do. So in order to talk to your bank, we could definitely talk later if you have questions, but you need to ask them what's their process. Do you have to be there to initiate a transfer? Some banks make you be there. So now you have that problem if you're gone. Do you have to come back and renew? Some banks will only take care of you being out of the country for maybe 3 to 6 months. You need to know those processes, and you do not need to talk to the person at the desk. You need to find the manager, because the person at the desk is only going to tell you what they've been told to tell you. They're not going to know. And you need to take their card and you need to have that manager's name so you can have that person where they know you. If you're thinking about being a business at all, set your stuff up now. And we kind of talked about that when we talked about the text person. What's happening now is this big change. I don't know. With the where you're having to report any money that comes into PayPal. This is personal. I was switching my PayPal, like my business PayPal and my personal PayPal. And for instance, somebody wanted to buy land. They needed to transfer the money to me so I could give it to them. They literally sent the money to PayPal. I literally just went to the bank, transferred over. They have bought their land. Now for tax season, it is showing on PayPal, I received income payment of this, this land. No, I didn't. And so now I'm having to go through a whole bunch of tax stuff because I simply at the time put it through the wrong entity for transaction. So what you want to do is, if you're going to keep your US business or company, you need to talk to your accountants. You need to talk to your tax people. You need to make sure everything's set up. And whenever you do your business transactions here or there, you keep your receipts, you have all that, but you want to be on the forefront of any questions versus on the back end finding out things. My biggest question now is, what is your income plan? Period. How are you continuing your money when you move overseas? And one of the things that I do not like to hear, even though people say it okay, is like, oh no, I'm going to start a business over there. Okay, that's beautiful. when you start your business, how much time can you carry yourself and the business before it becomes a strain? Number two, what is the income of? For instance, if I was a person who did hair and I came over to Rwanda, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna start a business, I'm gonna do hair. You get paid $30 for braids. Can you live off $30 a head? So you have to understand, what is your income plan? Not only what is your income plan, what is your long-term retirement or investing plan? Because as soon as you come out from the US, unless you keep a US job, you're losing your 401k and your retirement. And that means that you need to at least be thinking about what you're gonna do at 74. Because I'll be daggone if I wanna see you grilling burgers at 74, because you gotta keep your rent up. Just saying. You want to be able to have a plan. You want to be tucking things away. You want to be able to say, okay, where is this going to go? You want to be able to come up with a contingency plan. So, and you want to be honest with you, don't cut all your ties until you know how to manipulate and use those ties for your advantage. What are your legal documents plan? Power of attorney. Do you have someone you could trust? When I say legal documents, I'm talking about, I had to get the medical clearance, like I have to have somebody who could say if I was in an accident or anything, they have the final call on things. You need that one. You need to do your will. You need to do a lot of different things. You need to have that done. One of the things that has to happen, at least for me, is I have to change my will. The reason why is I now own land here. And so those are the things that I now need to know. If something happens to me, what happens to the bunnies, what happens to Hot Summer Farms, what happens to that? And you don't know necessarily the country that you go to, what is the laws. I can tell you in the UAE, oh God, how do I say this? Because it's actually, it's something law. It starts with an M. But literally, because we had someone who actually died, and she, because it was a she, what she wanted, because it was not legally documented, meant nothing, because automatically in the UAE, because of how they do stuff, the man makes all decisions. And so her brother actually made all decisions at that point in time. And that was the legal way. You couldn't do it. So you need to know when you're going someplace what those decisions are. And the reason why that was a frustration is because he specifically did things that was opposite of what she wanted. And I'm like, we just knew this, but one of the things that happened, and you need to know this, and this is why your legal document is very important, is because most family members are going to move based upon emotion, and they're going to try to fly you back because they want to see the body. That flight can be up to $16,000. So, and then let me be honest with you. I don't know who's going to watch this. I don't want to be flown back to the place that caused me stressed out. Like, don't fly me back over 20 hours. Dead and bad, like, so I can go back to the place I left. Let me write this piece down in documents. And not only do you want to have your legal documents, plan, power of attorney, and all that other stuff, you need to make sure that whoever has that information, you have a system in place where they know, or they're dispatched to who has what, when, where. And one of the other things too is you need to have a system in place that has all those things. So last one is phone, mail, and communications. What do you have in place? Mail, phone, are you going to transfer your stuff to Google Voice? I can tell you right now that many times that I've had to send a text message to something like, what does that look like? So these are all questions that you definitely, when I talk about the building up, is that it's going to start driving you. This is not the fun part. So that's why I say, make it a date. Brainstorming can be awesome. Relax and find the time to figure it out. Get you some wine, but set that time with yourself where you can talk with yourself. You can reflect, you can journal, and you can brainstorm. You can write those things out, because this part is the unfun part, but it is necessary, because when you move someplace, you're going to feel strong. I can tell you what was mine. I thought I was doing the thing. I promise you, I had life insurance. I planned that whole thing out. 2 years abroad, I realized, I did it all wrong. But I felt comfortable knowing something happened to me. These things were in place. And so you just need to take that time to plan and figure it out. Okay. So this is what you really want to do. And I am going to break this down. Your goal. What happens is when people want to move abroad, they're starting to dream of all the fun things. And they ask questions like, oh, can I get my favorite lotion? Or what about the such and such deodorant? Or, you know, how am I going to get some Lowry seasoning salt? That was me, grits. But what I recognize is that the biggest goal is not about if you could get your favorite lotion where you move. It's about making sure that you're comfortable enough so you can figure out how to get your favorite lotion when you move. You want to have questions to figure out how to make yourself comfortable. Like I said before, there's always an answer. But if you're so stressed out about your living situation, your finances, your transportation, if you're so stressed out about your day-to-day, that's not what you moved for. You move so you can sit there and enjoy it. And then you want to be able to have, let me be honest, you want to deal with first world questions. You want to deal with first world drama like, let me go ahead and let Wendy and Renee laugh at me. I'll be like, Felix is off today. Nobody brought me my vitamins on time. What am I going to do? I like them kind of problems. Yes, I do. What's my problems? Like, yeah. Oh, I love those kind of problems. I don't know. What wine? Is this a red wine or a white wine day? I want them kind of problems. So what the key goal is that take care of the underlying business. If you take care of the underlying business, it doesn't become the same stress because you can authentically have the same stresses that you had in the States over here when you're talking about your paycheck, finances, and making things work. You want to try to make sure that you don't. I'm hot. So our S is this, and it's fun. Yes, now we do. It's called settle. You can't see. Settle into your moments. Please do not be so consumed with planning to go. You forget to take time for things that mean to you. Family, relationships, going to concerts, eating food you probably ain't gonna never see again, hence Mexican food. Real bad right now. Making memories. Make the memories, yo. Ghost, don't be an introvert. Go to this party. One of the best things that I can remember for me is that I legitimately asked God to see a couple people in concert. 6 months before I left, I saw Jadina and I had a blast. I saw Miguel. I saw J. Cole the week before I left, but it was just very intentional. I went to my school's homecoming. I did things because I wanted to have memories and not regrets later. And when it does get sad, and you miss people or you miss things, you want to be able to have memories that you can hold on to that really do mean something, because you will miss things. And one of the hardest things that's going to happen or you deal with is people passing away, because now you're not there. And there's a guilt that's there. So you need to, that's why I said, be intentional with what you do. Take time to plan those things out. And do it. One of my best memories, and I put crawfish up here, is that I wanted to eat crawfish with my dad before I left. And I made sure that happened. Like, I was very intentional for those people who have vision and manifest your moments. Write down what you want to do before you go, because those things will mean so much to you. And you don't want to be in a place where regret leads you versus fulfillment. And so when you get into those moments, stay connected, journal those things down, scrapbook it, do your digital photo album and take your digital photo album with you. One of my favorite things that I've done, and I haven't done it here, was custom blanket with photos. Because the one thing you do have to be careful about is when you're traveling, you're not trying to go bulk. So even when I say scrapbook it takes up space. So unless it's really important or you have extra space, you want to do that. I did a bunch of photos on a custom blanket for like $89. And then I had a blanket with all these pictures around that I could just put, wear it anytime I wanted to. Private Instagram. So a lot of people don't know, I actually have a very personal private Instagram where I post pictures, and that is my own personal scrapbook that I go through and get to have those memories. What I have here is automate the important dates. You will lose track of time. things happen. One of the things that I did my first 2 years, I haven't done it this year, I'm getting back into it, is that I had made sure I had everybody's birthday. I went to 1-800-Flowers and I pre-scheduled birthday flowers to be sent to them on their birthdays. And you can do that. There's a lot of systems where you could prepay for that or whatever else like that. And one of those things is because it helps keep things connected. It lets people know that you're thinking of them and you care, and you're not feeling like you're always apologizing for missing. One of the other ones is Vistaprint's Blast. You can turn around and make postcards, upload addresses. They would mail those out for you. So there's a lot of little things you can do if you just think about it. It's like, how do I make sure I stay connected? Because you don't want to move so far out and it's just, well, unless you want to. Some people are trying to hide from people. So I don't know everything. But there's different ways for you to be able to feel connected if you become creative. And that's it. Just become creative. Know that. So the last one is G. Go. Just go. There's nothing I should have to talk about it. Just do it. Just do that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, get it done. Be there. Be out. The worst thing that can happen is you come back. And in order to do that means you went in the first place. You had a whole trip. You did something. So you go. That's what you do. You go. You go, go, go. So that kind of ends up, but this is our question and answer period. If you want me to, because it's kind of personal, I can stop the recording and we can kind of talk into detail or if you want to. I am going to say it one more time for those who truly love this. There's a PayPal or there's a Buy Me a Coffee if you want to go ahead and donate or sponsor that. I want to see if I can catch any questions for the recording. And I don't see any questions here. World remit for the transaction. Yes. Let me go ahead and come off and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let me stop recording. Okay. Did I stop recording? No.